Good morning and welcome back to Daily in the Word. If you're a regular viewer of our devotionals, you probably know that in the last few weeks, I've been doing a series on the issue of pride. In fact, I've called it the 10 Signs and Sins of Pride. And in the last few weeks, we've covered the first 6. Today we want to talk about number 7. Number 7 is this: pride causes a man to be impatient with others. It's interesting to note that in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, there's one thing contrasted against the other. The verse says this: the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. One contrasted against the other. By that I mean you are either one or the other. You are either patient in spirit or proud in spirit. You're proud and therefore impatient, or you're humble and therefore you are patient. And the proud man is always impatient with the faults and failures of others. He gets frustrated and irritated with others when they fail, and he always thinks he could have done the job better. Or at least he could have done the job differently, and of course, if he had done it differently, in his opinion, that would have been better. Understand that pride in self is the most common cause of harsh judgment in others. Like the proud Pharisee in Luke chapter 18, the proud man says, "I'm not like other men. I'm not an adulterer. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all I possess." And he's quick to condemn others and to call them publicans and sinners. Pride causes men to see their own virtues as greater than they are, and their own vices as less than they are. The proud man will quickly point to another man's faults, while at the same time he justifies his own faults and failures. His temper, his harmful dealings with others, his careless and foolish deeds, his cruel and unkind words, they're all played off as harmless. But on the other hand, he will quickly condemn the same things in others as great wickedness. You'll also note that the proud man cannot endure to be reproved or corrected for his own sin. And when his sin is pointed out, he will not be convinced that it's his fault. In fact, he can't be convinced that it's his fault. It is because if he failed, it's because someone else caused him to fail. He thinks so highly of all that he does that he's little troubled by his own weakness. So blind is the sin of pride in self. Number 8 is this: 8, pride causes a man to be discontented with his position in life. However high or however low that position is, he'll never be satisfied and he'll never be content. For him, the grass is always greener on the other side. Somebody always has it better than you. In fact, I was reading the other day and I came across a poem, and I don't remember who wrote the poem. I don't remember the whole poem, but I do remember the first line, and I thought it was a really excellent line. The first line of that poem said this: "What if the grass is greener on the other side because it's always raining over there?" Something to consider. We need to remember the Apostle Paul's words in Romans chapter 12 and verse 16. Paul said it this way: "Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate." Listen to this phrase: "Be not wise in your own conceits." In other words, don't have a high opinion of yourself. That's exactly what the proud man does. He has a very high opinion of himself, and he believes he should be lifted higher in power, higher in wealth, and higher in honor. He wants it because, well, he thinks he deserves it. And he thinks that if he had it, he would treat it all better than someone who did have it, and he would be happier. One of the worst things that a man can wish for, the proud wish for, and that is he wants what he thinks he deserves. Can I tell you something? Nobody really wants what they think nobody wants what they really deserve. If I got what I deserved, if you got what you deserved, we would all die and be and burning in hell. That's what we truly deserve. And anything more than that is more than we deserve. A proud man is never contented or satisfied with anything he has. Even if he did gain great power and great honor and great wealth, he would only desire more. That is the foolishness of the proud heart. They're never content because things don't bring contentment. You say, "Well, Brother Morris, what does?" I'll let the Bible answer that question. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 9 and verse 11 say this: "They that be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. But thou, O man of God, flee these things, follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness. And remember that godliness with contentment is great gain. Here's another thing I've noted about the proud man. Pride causes a man to talk much and to hear little. Proverbs 12:3 gives this advice: the Lord shall cut off the flattering lip, and the tongue that speaketh proud things. The proud man believes that everyone needs and desires his opinion, even concerning subjects which he has little or no knowledge about. Let me warn you about something, Christian brother. We all need to take heed of proud self-conceitedness in our speech. Don't pretend to be smarter or wiser than you are on every subject or on any subject, because someday you're going to be called to prove it. And that day is the day pride gets humbled. I suggest this. I suggest that it's wiser to listen and ask a question like you're a humble student, that is to speak and spout off like you're the greatest teacher. The Bible says, a fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. Talk less, and you may learn more. Richard Baxter said it this way. One of my favorite things that Richard Baxter ever said is this little saying. He said, it is wiser to remain silent until what you have to say is better than the silence. Brother, that's some good advice. Worst of all, number 10, pride causes a man to become spiritually blind. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7 says this, be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord, and depart from evil. Can I ask you a question? Do you have a high opinion of yourself? Do you think you're better than you are? I'd like to say I never had that problem, but the truth is, we all have that problem. Sometimes I look at others and I think to myself, just like that Pharisee, boy, I'm glad I'm not like him. Sometimes I look at others and I'm quick to condemn their sin while I condone the same sin in myself. I think we all struggle with this issue. The problem with the proud heart is proud men cannot see their own problem. So it's hard to convince a proud heart of its own sin. You may indeed even get a proud man to confess that he's a sinner, but he won't really believe it in his heart. He's like the proud Pharisees who asked Jesus, are we also blind? Well, of course they were. They were blinder than the blind man, spiritually blind. And that's one of the dangers of spiritual pride. Pride deceives us by making us believe that we have what we do not have, that we do what we do not do, and that we are what we are not. Think about that for a moment. What kind of opinion do you have of yourself? Are you like Isaiah, who takes a good look at the Lord and says, oh, woe is me, for I am undone, and I am a man of unclean lips? Or do you look at yourself and think, well, rather highly about yourself? Think you're a pretty good person. Think you know what to do, and think even worse than that, not only do you know what to do, that you always do what's right. I've found this to be true. The humble man is a introspective person. He's always looking at himself. He's always, if you want to say it this way, he's always suspicious of himself and his motives. And I think that's the best way to be. Like I've said before, pride is the one thing that keeps a man from becoming what he thinks he already is. There are a lot of men who would be great men if they would just quit trying to be great men. Jonathan Edwards said this, the greatest hindrance to revival is spiritual pride. Why? Because the proud don't think they need revival. You'll never have true revival until you're first willing to humble yourself before God. Remember what I asked before, and think about this as we close this video. Is your life really about Him or about Him? I know it's a tough series, and I know it's been hard on you to listen to it because it's been hard on me to teach it. Every one of these 10 things I've talked about, when we talk about the signs and sins of pride, every single one of them apply to me. And I don't doubt that in some way, big or small, it applies to you. And I hope you'll really take some time and think about this issue in your own life and humble yourself before God and remind yourself that true humility isn't a lack of pride. True humility is self-forgetfulness. I'm so busy serving God and trying to meet the needs of others, that I don't remember to meet my own, I let God take care of that. That's really the spirit of humbleness in a person. Now, I hope you'll join me next week. We'll talk about some practical steps we can talk to obey the biblical command to put on humility. The Bible tells us to do that. Next week, we'll look at some practical steps of how we can do that. Until then, God bless you.